I'm gonna create a box here. Now, before I created the box, I used snap. The snap is used to create precise placement. Snap is used to precisely place objects with respect to other objects, in this case with respect to the grid. So there's the snap. If you right click here, I have snap to grid points on, which means that whenever I create my box, it's gonna snap to the grid and therefore give me precise placement for my box. Notice that every square of the grid is 10 by 10 centimeters. So I'm gonna create my box here. It took 4 by 4, and that is 40 by 40 for the dimensions of my box. I'm gonna set the height to 200. So there's my box now. I can deactivate snap whenever I don't have any more use for it. I'll go to modify, and if I press F3, I have the length, width, height, and there I have the length segments, width segments, and height segments. If I want to bend my box to give it a curvy appearance, all I have to do is apply a bend modifier. So I'm gonna go to modifier list and choose bend. Now I'm gonna increase the angle, and here I'm gonna see that the bend gizmo is actually bending properly, but the box is not. And this is because the box does not have any segments along its height. So to fix that problem, I'm gonna go to box, and here I'm gonna increase the height segments like so. So now if I go back to bend, I can change the angle and the bend will happen properly. Now if I zoom over, I'm gonna see that I have still segmentation, and this is because of the low amount of segments that I added. So if I go back to box, I can increase that, say, to 40, and that would give me a very smooth appearance for the bending. Another thing I can do is change the direction of the bending. And of course this can be animated, and we're going to see how to animate these things or these parameters later on. Another thing I can do is change the bend axis. Whenever I change it to X, it's going to bend along the X axis. There's the X axis, so this is the bend direction that it's going to have. But the problem is I don't have any segments along this direction. So if I increase the length segments here, it's not going to do me any good. What I have to do is increase the width segments, and there's my bending along the X axis. I can decrease the height now and change the width so that I see how the bending is happening. Alright, if I change now to Y, I need to increase the length segments to see what's happening, and I need to change the dimensions of the object to account for this bending. So by increasing the length, I'll see how the bend would happen properly in the Y direction. Now here I have a lot of unwanted segments, which are the width segments and the height segments. So I decrease those and just keep the direction segments that I need. The limit effect, I'm going to reset my bending to Z and change the angle to 90 degrees and go back to box and regain my original proportions and set the height segments to 30. So this is what I started with. You see here my box is 100 units high. Let's make it 200. What the limit effect will do is start the bending at a certain level and then finish it up at another level. First I need to specify the start of the bending, so I'm gonna increase or expand actually the bend and choose center, and here I'm gonna move the center up, say to a value of 40 units. I'm gonna choose limit effect. I'm gonna increase the upper limit now, say to 60, and this means that the bending will start at 40 because the center is set to 40 and the upper limit is set to 60. Therefore from 40 to 60 I'm gonna have bending and I'll be left with 100 units because the box is originally 200 units. The result of this is that before the band gizmo, here I'm going to change the color so that you can see the gizmo, which is in orange. Before the band gizmo I have a straight object, and after it I also have a straight object. Without using limit effects, I have a curved object all over. So now what I can do is grab the center and move it up and down, and I'm gonna see that the box will update instantly. And I can also change the angle and the direction. Another modifier would be the taper modifier. I'm gonna go down and choose taper from my modifier list. Notice that here I also have height segments which are needed for this modifier. The first thing I can do is change the amount, and this will expand or retract the upper side of the object by default, and it can also curve it in or curve it out. Another thing you can do is limit the effect, so I'm going to choose limit effect and increase the upper limit and increase also the lower limit, and now I only have the tapering happen between say 30 and 80 units, and the rest is going to be totally straight.